How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Pals Podcast. We're your pals, George and Rick. On this episode, we had a guest on that we've been trying to get on this podcast for quite some time.
Honestly, it's been months.
We are a big fan of his work and what he's doing in the Canadian boxing scene, but also internationally. We had Lee Baxter on, who is like this founder, CEO, what do you want to call him, of Lee Baxter Promotions. For those who don't know and are not big into the boxing world, this episode honestly was one of my favorites, and I think Ricky can concur. Lee, I mean, I'm an above average boxing fan. I follow the sport very closely, and he taught me a lot more than what I knew. But he also broke it down for the very average or people that don't even watch boxing. It was a really fun episode. Told some funny stories. Someone that we'd love to get back on and talk more in depth as things go on and boxing events happen. But anyways, it was a terrific episode. I think you'll really like it whether you like boxing or not. So tune in. And my pal, take it away.
I will. We want to give a special shout out to the people who keep the lights on and the people that allow us to have this amazing studio. Erdinger. Great beer. It's the #1 wheat beer in the world, German style. They're actually the presenting sponsor of Toronto Oktoberfest, which is taking place at the end of this month, September 30th and October 1st in downtown Toronto, right at Ontario Place. We've talked about Oktoberfest in a previous episode. Georgie went to the one in Germany, which is super cool. This is the closest comparison you're going to get in the city. Super cool event. So big shout out to them. If you go to the link in our bio, we're going to post a special link for you guys where you can get $5 off tickets to Oktoberfest using the coupon code PALSPOD. Boom. That's it. Get your tickets. We'll see you there. Me and George are going to be there. We got our hats on. We're going to be drinking our beers. So that is all, and let's get into the episode.
Heck yeah. Okay, let's see if we're good. Yeah, I think we're good.
Usually we have our manager Danny here to do it, but she kind of fucked off on us today. No, she got a golf tournament in Ottawa or something.
Yeah. Oh, fuck.
Do you ever do golf at all?
I'll play.
You're like me then.
I wouldn't really be recording the score. I'll finish the 18
Yeah,
holes.
you finish.
I ain't Canelo.
Yeah. Ricky's a guy who goes to golf. He goes for the social aspect.
Yeah.
Rick's the guy
I
who's
drink
drinking-
on the golf course.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of stuff gets done on the golf course, though. Not
yeah.
golf stuff.
Deals, business, everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were just saying, the first thing I want to kind of start with, though, you were talking about it before we started recording, Canelo and Triple G. So I didn't watch the fight. I actually, going into it, I think I've watched like most big fights in the last, decade. And for some reason, I was like, I think I know how this is going to end. Like, I actually didn't have any desire to watch it. Like, no care.
Well, I think from public's perception, you have two guys at their peak competed 24 rounds against each other, and it was very close. One guy is going a little higher, and the other one is just getting older. And now they cross paths again at a bigger weight class that's more advantageous to the guy that's in his prime. Okay. I think it was kind of inevitable what was going to happen. It's just how was it going to end? Was it going to be a decision? Was he going to stop him? Was he going to have this devastating performance that Bivol says, hey, let's do this rematch? But I think there was so much pressure on both parties from DAZN because they both had signed lucrative contracts a few years back because both of their first fights were on HBO. So to get Canelo was we got to do this and give him huge money. To get Triple G was we'll get you the rematch and give you huge money. And then things started falling apart. And then I believe it was way too late. It probably should have happened a couple of years ago, right when HBO closed. But I don't know. I wasn't really impressed.
Yeah. I watched the highlights. That's
all you needed to watch.
I did a run over here, and as I got here, I was like, I should probably watch this to talk about.
You know, like Jay's in 30?
Yeah.
I think they got to do
I was literally
boxing
just
in
thinking
5.
that.
Yeah.
Just thinking
Yeah,
that.
within, and I was watching the highlights. And it
boxing
was
in 5.
Right?
Yeah.
Or boxing in 10 or something like
Well, I was
that.
watching an 8-minute highlight. I went on YouTube, and I was walking, and I was like, I have a 10-minute walk to get here. And I was looking at it, and I'm like, this is like boring. Like, and then I was watching the last few rounds, which got a little more competitive. But I want to ask two things. The first thing is going back to the first fight.
Yeah.
Do you think that Canelo? Do you think that
First fight was the
Triple
draw,
G? Yeah,
right?
But and a lot of people thought that Triple G.
I was at that fight, and I think it wasn't convincing any direction.
Okay.
When you're at it, it's even harder because like the fans are swaying so much with the noise momentum from the Mexicans, right?
Yeah.
But I would say Man, it's boxing. Like either like it wasn't like I got robbed. No, it was like if you won, Canelo would have said he got robbed.
Yeah.
If Canelo won, you would have said he got robbed. So I think the narrative was good to do a second fight.
Yeah.
Do you think the fans actually make a difference in boxing? Like we talk about like home field advantage all the time in every sport. And like, do you think the fans really make a difference when you're fighting?
Yeah, to a small percentage. Like judges are looking, but ultimately you're still hearing everything behind you. You have to be swayed a little bit.
One of the things actually on that note, so I was at Canelo Bevo. I was down to Vegas to see it, and I sat. I was in the lower bowl. I was kind of in the side. You know where the ring walk happens. Mariachi band was like literally right in front of me.
Yeah.
So it's farther than the past fights I've seen. So I could see most of it, but it's still a little bit far. And it was on Cinco de Mayo, so like it was 95% Mexican crowd. Like it was going nuts. And you would hear the cheering. So as I'm watching it, like I didn't drink that much in the fight. I was kind of really zoned in. And I was like, okay, this is not so bad. And the guy next to me, I'll never forget this. He told me, he goes, I'm from Monterey. I put $5,000 down on Canelo, and the payout was he was the heavy favorite going in. It was like he would win 1,000 for 5,000 or something like that.
Yeah,
I was like, man, that seems kind of risky.
Yeah.
But we're watching, and I'm like in it. I'm like, okay, like I'm a big Canelo fan, and it seemed like he was in it. You know, I remember. I'll never forget. It looked like he snuck an uppercut through the guard, and then I was like, oh my, okay, he's whatever. And the crowd's going nuts. But then as it went on, they started to fade a bit, and you could tell the guy next to me the whole time was saying he's losing. He's losing from the beginning of the fight. When I went back to watch it, like it didn't look like he was even close. Like even the uppercuts going through wasn't really any good contact. So I would say like on that, I noticed it because I was like, oh, Canelo's really in this fight. Watch it after. It's not even like doesn't.
Yeah,
really
well, when you think about it, Canelo's a good finisher. And you sit on the edge of your seat for the whole 36 minutes thinking that even if he is losing the first 5-6 rounds, all of a sudden he landed a big shot. Okay, the closing's coming out. So the crowd is like, no, he's winning this fight. And you forget what happened 20 minutes ago. But the truth is, every round you get a 10 or a 9. And they just start adding up in the bank. Yeah. And people forget that. And they might say, well, for the last 15 minutes, he didn't do anything. Yeah, but what did he do for the first 18 or first 20?
Yeah. The second question that I said I want to ask too, did you think this fight with going back to Canelo and Triple G, did you expect it to end in a knockout? Did you think it was going to go the whole way?
No, I thought that it was going to be exactly what it was. Yeah. I thought Canelo would do more. I think Triple G, he looked old, but he still has so much experience that he was not going to get knocked out because he wasn't taking the risks to get knocked out. Yeah. Like he would have to be countered. He'd have to walk him into a shot that he didn't see. He's just too talented for that to happen, even at an older age. So I thought he would play it safe, and then in the later half, if he thought he could he might take a little bit more risk when Canelo's slowing down a little bit. Yeah. I think that's what happened. Canelo did start getting caught around like the 9th and 10th round. But. Yeah.
He one thing with Triple G that's interesting, and like I haven't seen all his fights, but when I watch him fight, it doesn't ever look like anyone has really, really hurt him. Like he seems like he has one of the strongest chins in boxing. No,
it's true. And like not to jump around, but even if you look at Usyk and Joshua, like you feel the same way towards Usyk. Yeah. And then Joshua really had him hurt. Like I've never really seen Golovkin in a bad spot.
Yeah. Kind of off topic a little bit. Well, on topic, but pivot a bit. What is the best fight that you think you've seen recently? Something that was memorable, something that you thought like, wow, this guy could be the next great. An upset that shocked you.
Believe it or not, I really thought that Bam kid that was on the undercard that fights at 115, he's going to fight the winner of Chocolatito and Juan Estrada. I thought he was going to be the guy. Like, and then yesterday he had such a lackluster performance. Okay. Right now.
Pull it a bit closer. Yeah. Just tilt it a little bit. Just we can fix. There you go. Perfect.
I'd say I can give you this. I can give you a laundry list of who, as a promoter, even if like I turn into a fan for. Yeah. I don't think there's a bad fight that Gervonta Davis is in. I'm always excited to see Virgil Ortiz fight. And I'm dying to give money and buy I'm sure I'll be comped the tickets, but I'll pay for whatever to see this Spence Crawford fight. It's gonna happen. I think it's getting announced tomorrow.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, November 15th.
Oh, I did not know that's coming that soon. Yeah. What do you think it'll happen in Dallas?
No, Vegas.
No? Vegas?
Yeah. I think that that Crawford will want that. Like they can still I'm sure they could put 50,000 people in Cowboy Stadium. I was at Spence Ugas, his last fight, and I think there was about 45,000.
Yeah.
But Vegas is Vegas. You can charge whatever you want at the gate. That 15,000 people can be equated to 20, 80, 100.
Yeah.
It's priced right.
Rick, are you familiar with Spence and Crawford?
No.
Okay.
Not a boxing
you maybe give some context.
So Earl Spence is...
I know Gervonta Davis.
Earl Spence basically is the guy that Mayweather retired from when he was sparring him, and he felt his power and stuff, and they were in the gym, and he was like, okay, this is the next wave. Like, I think it's time for me to get out of here.
I did not know that.
He has never lost. He's been involved in a lot of controversy. He was drunk and like flipped over a Ferrari, got ejected out of it, had a whole facial reconstruction.
So it was like, that's like 3 years ago.
Yeah,
and they didn't know if he was going to fight anything.
Yeah, so they recessed his IBF title and then allowed the other people to fight for it until he was healed, came back. And like, I know I'm bouncing all over the place, but when you look at...
we can do whatever we want. There's no set schedule.
When you look at Devin Haney and how he just beat Kambosos and how Kambosos beat Teofimo and how they got a unification of a whole division, it's just on one fight. They took all the belts from one fighter on one fight. Where Earl Spence is going, who's the champion? Okay, it was Kell Brook. I'm going to go to England and take the belt off him. Okay, who's the next champion? Okay, I'm going to go take it off Danny Garcia. Okay, who's the next champion? Okay, I'm going to take it off Ugas. Like, he's doing one at a time, taking it from the champion. Not, oh, there's a vacant title or there's some politics behind it. And now he's after Crawford. Now, Crawford... I've never once seen that guy in danger. Like, he's just so special.
For a long time, they said, maybe even still, that he was the best pound for pound, like, for a while.
Yeah.
He held that title. Like, it was...
Yeah, I would have to say he's got to be up there if he's not in the top 3. I think both of them could be. It's just that Spence is at a disadvantage that he didn't bounce around from weight class to weight class, but I think he can. He has the ability to do it. I know at one point he was talking about going up to 60 to fight Canelo. Yeah. That fight is just... It's like a bull in a matador, and it's genuinely like a buzzing fight right now for this era.
It's interesting. You can see, like, I've watched a few of Earl Spence's fights. He's even at his weight class. I don't remember which fight it was. I don't think it was versus oh shit, who's the guy that just retired?
Ugas?
No, he's on the Zone now as a commentator.
Sean Porter.
Yeah. When he fought Sean Porter, and there was another fight after that, like. He is Errol Spence is noticeably bigger than most of these guys. Like for his weight class, he just looks like he towers over most guys.
He fought in Toronto. I don't know if you know or not.
No, I did not know that.
So Adonis Stevenson fought Carpensi.
Yeah.
Not the show that I did. This was in 2015. Okay. And PBC just launched. And they were trying to move Spence all over the place, and one of his fights fell out, and they wanted to fight a South African that couldn't get a U.S. visa, but we got him a Canadian visa. I was involved, and then he fought there, and he trained in my gym on Dufferin.
Come on.
He's huge.
Yeah?
Huge for a welterweight. Like, he probably walks around like 185, 190 pounds.
What's welterweight weight
147.
Class?
Yeah.
Or dropping a quarter of your body for a fight, basically.
Yeah.
Mayweather fought at welterweight.
Yeah.
147. Yeah, but isn't Mayweather only like 5'7" or something, 5'8"?
Yeah, he's about 5'8". Yeah, Spence is probably about 5'10".
It's so crazy too, though. See, it's so different. Like a different weight, like at the same weight class, you can have such different body types and different styles. Which is crazy.
For sure.
Like Mayweather, I don't like. The last guy I can remember he knocked out was Ricky Hatton. That's the only, for some reason, that's the only one that sticks out in my mind. Like, he would not knock many guys out from the last bit of his career, but he wouldn't.
I think his last stoppage was Victor Ortiz. Because Victor Ortiz was apologizing to him and stood there with his head out, and he teed off on him, and he still barely fell down.
Yeah, that was a crazy one. I mean,
wasn't he losing that fight too?
I know it was like the third round, controversial. Like fourth round. Mayweather's fights are always like the first couple rounds are always controversial.
I actually wanted to ask this: what do you guys think about Mayweather doing all these like random charity bullshit fights,
exhibition fights?
I feel
like it like taints his reputation. Like he's just
100%
selling out for the bag. It's like, bro, you have so much money. Do you really need to do this?
Do you know how much he made? Sorry, 1 second. The year he fought Pacquiao, he was the highest paid athlete that year. Do you know how much he made?
$500 million or something?
No, he made just on that fight alone. I think his take was $300 million.
Yeah, like
in and around maybe because he only fought once a year for the last few years of his career. And I believe I'm on a list. He was the highest paid athlete that year. And think about that. He probably trained for a camp for 12 weeks, maybe. And someone like him, maybe not. And he fought for an hour, 36 minutes.
So now fast forward a couple years later, and he does the same thing against a guy that's never boxed professionally in his life. No. Conor McGregor.
Oh, Conor McGregor.
And he made $300 million for that, bro.
Or maybe that was the year. Maybe I'm mixing the numbers up then.
No, Pacquiao was close to, I think it was like 240 or 250.
Yeah.
Because of all the pay-per-view revenue, but he surpassed that revenue with the Conor fight.
The thing with Conor, I didn't have an issue as much with is because like Conor being a mixed martial artist. I watched that fight. I thought it would have like. I'm not someone who's like, oh, this is a sham for the sport. I don't care. Conor McGregor went like
10 rounds.
10 rounds with him.
Listen,
and he hit him once that I was like,
in
okay.
the second or third round, he hit him with the most unorthodox uppercut that I was like, whoa.
He did like a
Showtime did such a good job that I'm actually believing he might win. Like this is crazy.
The thing is, it's like when you start fighting, I think he fought some Asian guy like a couple months ago, like knocked him out in the second round
in
or something.
Japan. The guy cried, I think.
And I'm just like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, am I really watching this right now? Like, you got guys like even Anderson Silva turns into like a boxer and starts doing this, and it's like, yo, you're one of the greatest mixed martial artists, martial arts fighters of all time. Now you're fighting Jake Paul. Like, cool, great. Like, I get it, get the bag, I'm all for it. But Anderson Silva didn't make nearly as much as Mayweather did. Like Mayweather is literally the greatest boxer of all time, and now you're fighting Logan Paul, this Asian dude who's made. I think
he has another exhibition.
Yeah, he just announced another fight.
Another one. I'm just like, is this just for like TikTok and shit now? Like, what the fuck's happening?
Well, I think he's just capitalizing on his name, image, and likeness. Right?
Yeah,
like,
but at some point you got to say like, when do you stop being a hooker? Like, it's basically like, oh, hey, monkey, how much can I pay you to dance? Do you know what I mean? It's like,
but when you have this much money too, it's like, why? Like, are you burning this much money that you need to keep making 100 or 200 mil a year? Like, do you not have investments in like other shit that's making you money now?
And that's the more boss play is I don't ever have to get in the ring and I'm a legend and my money makes me money. Like Muhammad Ali, imagine he's just at the time doing these ridiculous like he's a news reporter and a lot of people listen to his stories, so I'm gonna box him because I'm partially slow.
It's interesting because I think it's two things. I actually think it may be like he's just not great with his money. Like you see the videos,
right? We all see what
my
he
favorite
spends
things to watch back in the day more than the fight was like the HBO 24/7 and the Showtime. Like 24/7 is still one of I think the best that did it. It shows behind the scenes. That guy would have like one fight. He would have all white cars. He'd have the Bugatti, the Ferrari, the Lamborghini. They'd be all white. The next year, he fights someone else, all black cars. Like he would just he spent arguably he probably spent it all. That could be one thing. On the other hand, the one thing he's always done better, well, not better than everybody. Sorry, yes, the one thing he's always done better than everybody is he always knew how to stay like top of mind in the media. He would call so many guys out.
So that I will say is not him. That's Leonard Ellerby.
Okay.
And like when I promoted the show with Mayweather Promotions at Air Canada Center, I became very close with Leonard Ellerby because we were the ones doing all the work. And he's an actual genius. He literally.
Oh, so he's the one. Like
he's the brains.
Okay.
He's the brains. So Al Heyman's the manager.
Yeah.
He's the one that's getting all the bag. He's the one that's negotiating everything with Showtime. He's positioning them with all the musicians. Because
all those walkouts and Bieber came out with him.
Yeah, he was involved with Live Nation and the startup of that.
Oh, okay.
But Leonard Ellerby, he's the one that got him on Dancing with the Stars. He's the one that got him on WWE. So you think you got this black American that was born in
born in Detroit, wasn't he?
No, he's born in Grand Rapids, but in Michigan.
Sorry, yeah.
From the hood.
Yeah.
Dad was a boxer with a crackhead. Mom was not in the life. So he's not going to trust many people, and he's not really educated. So Leonard was very smart, and he's like, how can we make this guy a household name to everyone? He's like, okay, first things first, let's get the wrestling crowd. We're going to make him go on WWE. Yeah. And now all of a sudden, when that guy that was on WWE is fighting for his next pay-per-view fight, that crowd's going to tune in. Okay, how do we hit the middle-aged women? Let's get him on Dancing with the Stars. And they're going to fall in love with him there. And then, so they knew how to make him like a superstar. And that's one thing that boxing doesn't have right now. Because like you're saying, with these fights that are not boxing credible people can be in the ring simply because of exposure, it's kind of diluting what a real star is. Because so many people are just so like.
Well, aren't they saying that Ryan Garcia, isn't he like that next like celebrity
he would be the
boxer?
He would be the first one, yeah.
He's boxing, but like mainstream boxing because like
he's a crossover.
He's a good-looking dude. He's all over TikTok. He's all over
3 million on Instagram.
Yeah, he's like. Oh, look, again, I'm not a boxing fan. I'm like just your average Joe. I know the big names. I know the kind of the superstars. But again, like I remember watching Garcia fight. I think I watched it at your house when he fought that the white dude.
The one where he got knocked down?
Yeah.
Luke Campbell.
The rib shot.
Yeah.
He was like
From
some
England.
Olympic wrestler.
Yeah, he was a gold
boxer.
medalist.
Yeah. So I remember watching that. I'm like, hey, this is cool. This is like, he's a fun young dude that just like wants to like be famous and be good at boxing. And then I think him and Davis are supposed to fight soon, aren't they?
Yeah, they're supposed to. But like, here's the problem. You look back now and you see all the stuff that people used to go through that were high level pros that was just buried, like in terms of abuse or like substance addiction and all that stuff. And now it's just so welcoming to have problems that,
Because it makes for a better script.
yeah, it's like, oh, well, Ryan Garcia, he's going through mental depression and he needs to go to rehab. Okay. And call me an asshole, and I'm not saying that shouldn't be cared about because it's a real thing. But from a public's perception, this Spartan that is supposed to be the number one in the world should not be able to be beat up by all these things. So like a lot of the boxing fans start losing interest in him. He might get bigger on TikTok, but now like the hardcore boxing fans, like guys that would be backing someone like Marcos Maidana that's been in gangs and been stabbed
Maidana's
and
a
been
crazy
shot,
one, yeah.
or guys that are like mental problems. Like, what are you talking about mental problems, bro? I'm from the hood in Argentina. Like, that doesn't exist. You put your work boots on, you go to work. Like, we're men, right? So I think it's tough because you want to please everyone, but you can't this day and age because everyone has a voice.
Yeah. That's actually
It's very interesting.
That is an
point.
interesting take. It's funny, and I bring up Marcos Maidana. I saw that he was at the fight yesterday. And I'll never forget this. Just a quick segue, man. Maidana was probably one of the few guys that actually hurt Mayweather and like had a chance against him.
I believe in the first fight, he technically could have got the decision.
Yeah, and like he was a like dirty fighter, would headbutt. Like I remember when he rammed his chin up or his head up to Mayweather's chin. But it was so interesting to see, like, kind of after those fights happened, how he just like there was pictures of him that came out. This guy, he looked like Argentinian version of Pablo Escobar, like big barrel out, like have guns on the table, like just back in the
he had like revolvers tatted on his waist. He ran an Argentinian gang of like 50 or 80 people.
Crazy.
Like, they're big street dudes. And he came over to LA. He barely spoke English. He got with Robert Garcia, and he was like a grinder that was kind of like the in-house opponent. And then he pulled the upset on Adrian Broner. When he pulled the upset on Adrian Broner, then he got the opportunity for Mayweather. He gave him such a good fight that he got a second fight. But this guy was never paid much, maybe 100, 200 grand a fight. And then all of a sudden, Broner was probably like closer to $1 million, pulled the upset, and then he probably got like 5 to 10 million per fight with Mayweather. But you take all that money back to Argentina, man, you're a god. Loaded. You're a god.
100%.
Well, who was the bigger Mexican dude that pulled up the upset against? Was it
Andy Ruiz?
Andy Ruiz.
Yeah.
Same thing.
That was a crazy fight. One thing before we kind of dive into that, because I want to talk about like heavyweight stuff like that now. But I guess on Ricky's point of like how this like more the social media side coming into boxing. One thing I want your opinion on as someone who's a promoter. So you promote and manage?
No, I just promote. I used to manage. I managed in order to understand the industry instead of diving in as a promoter and then losing my shirt. A lot of guys come in and they come in blind, and like the promoter's the one that cuts all the checks. So I wanted to be the manager to see who he cuts all the checks to and how it all works before I just say, hey, I'm going to start promoting, and then people are telling me what I'm supposed to be paying them.
And you're getting the raw end of the deal and all that
that's
stuff.
what usually happens. Big business guys that are monsters, like Fortune 500 guys, like, I want to get into boxing. It's like the coolest sport to get into. They get in and they have no idea what people are supposed to make, what things are supposed to cost, and then they just go broke because they can't make money.
So I think that's a really good way to go about it, because in any business, right, you want to know how the kind of the foundation gets laid. On that side of things, obviously having more eyeballs on the sport is a good thing. Boxing was for a while. In my opinion, I think the UFC kind of rose really fast, and there was a few years like where boxing wasn't a mainstream thing. I think now there's a lot of guys in different divisions that have name brand appeal. Maybe not like Mayweather, but also with social media and all these fights that are more a little bit comical and
social gloves or whatever they call them.
Do you think? Do you like it? Hate it? And also, do you think it's going to benefit or be a detriment in the long run?
So I think that I can't say I hate it, because there'll be people that talk to me about boxing that never would have talked to me about boxing if this stuff wasn't happening. Like Jake Paul did a lot for the sport. I will say that. Now, there needs to be some sort of a way that they can regulate the level of professionalism, because Jake Paul can't just say, "Hey, I want to play a game in the NFL."
Because you don't.
Can't.
Yeah.
He just can't, because just because you're a professional doesn't mean you're on the same level, right? So, but you could play probably a game in the CFL on the third string and get called up, but they're still professionals. You see where I'm going with this?
Well, one of the things too,
that guy that's a cornerback, third string on the Argos, could never be calling out like Eli Manning.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's just. But the way that boxing is, there's no leagues, there's no levels. It's like that guy that has 2 pro fights could be calling out Canelo, and technically they could fight.
Yeah.
And so on that point, I think you're 100% right, because one day I think someone will get seriously hurt.
1,000%.
Like, people get seriously hurt all the time. Like,
I think it was about a year or two ago. There was a professional who was in a fight and he died.
Yeah. And
that happens. I'm not going to say regularly.
No,
more
but
common
those are
than you hear
accidents.
about.
So those are, like 2 trained professionals getting into it. Accidents do happen in any sport. But I think like one day. Okay, maybe not Jake Paul, because he's on a different level on his team. They pick their opponents.
He's taking it serious. He is taking it very serious.
And they pick their opponents handpicked, and it's the team behind him is genius, and they're gonna. It's no doubt in my mind the Paul brothers collectively will be billionaires at some point in their lives, because they're just too big, and their teams are just fucking on point. Yeah. But you're gonna get a guy like, I don't know, maybe like this KSI guy or one of these other Anderson Gibb.
Did you see this KSI thing? The last fight where he fought like 2 guys in one night?
Yeah.
Like one guy's turning his back around and like
exactly.
hurdling.
It's a joke, right? But one day one of these TikTokers, one of these YouTubers, one of these like, I don't want to say everyday Joes because they're not, but one of these social media celebrities is going to call out the wrong dude and not prep for it properly. And the wrong dude's just going to actually fucking kill him. And then it's going to be this whole uproar like, oh, how did we let this happen? How did we let this happen? It's like, I don't want to say we are the problem, because I don't buy any of this shit, and I doubt you guys do either. But there's like everyday Joes who just follow these guys on Instagram. Oh, they're fighting social gloves, $70 pay-per-view. I'm going to buy it because I want to see what's going to happen. And then like someone's going to fucking die one day, and they're going to be, oh, how did we let this happen? It's like, well, you guys bought tickets to this. Actually, I think the last one was a big flop though. The last like.
Yeah, so I think
there was one in, I think it was Cali or something, and it was like apparently a big joke. There was like 1,000 or 2,000 people in the stands in a 40,000 person stadium.
Well, I know for a fact, even Jake Paul's last fight that got canceled last minute.
Triller can't. I think it was
no. He was fighting on.
He was supposed to fight Fury's brother, wasn't he?
No, after Tommy Fury, there was a replacement, and that's Hasim Rahman's son.
Yeah, and he was an actual boxer though.
Yeah, so Hasim Rahman
was a heavyweight, like
he knocked out Lennox Lewis.
Yeah,
so he turned around, and his son, I think, had like 100 amateur fights, and he was in camp with them. So then they turned around and they were going to fight each other. But I know for a fact that there was about like 1,500 seats sold on fight week in Madison Square Gardens. Like,
and they canceled
everything.
Whether they want to admit it or not, like Dana White has an interview where he's like, you know what I think? I think it cost $5 million. No, I think it cost $1 million to turn the lights on in MSG, and they didn't sell any fucking tickets. And hotels and transportation is expensive in New York City.
Absolutely.
So it's 100%. Like, listen, just because you see it in the media, it doesn't mean that everyone plays above board. It's a dirty sport. Like, if we weren't selling, you cancel the show. It happens all the time.
All the time.
It's
better to lose a fucking $1 million and lose $10 million.
And everyone just magically gets COVID on shows that aren't selling.
Yeah.
Like, it's like the perfect outage.
Absolutely. So I guess to sum it up in the long run, do you think that, because to Ricky's point, like it would be not maybe to the sport, but it would be a detriment to have a negative like Paul cast over boxing if somebody did get seriously hurt in one of these social fights. But do you think that all these eyeballs?
I think it'll fizzle out. Just like wasn't it like XNFL or X football? Remember that thing? That was another thing.
Oh, and then, the XFL.
Remember like celebrity boxing? That was another thing. Like, it's buzzing right now because these people have a lot of eyes on them.
Yeah.
But like, you can only watch bar fights for so long before you want to watch a real competitive athlete fight another real competitive athlete. And it's entertaining because you got 2 people at a low level competing for something. But the truth of the matter is exterior fans are not buying into it. It's just these people have a fan base already. So these people are cult-like. They'll do anything they say. If they're going to play golf, if they're going to pound a bottle of champagne, they're still going to get the hits.
That's a fair point.
But they're not going to make like mainstream media cover this stuff and say, wow, this is a growing thing for the sport.
Well, that's where I think the divide comes between like professional boxing, and then you have like Barstool's Rough and Rowdy.
Yes.
Barstool's Rough and Rowdy, it's exactly what you think it is. It's exactly what it's promoted as. Like fucking just random dudes just that don't box, coming in, throwing haymakers. It's dangerous, it's stupid, it's dumb, but it's entertaining.
Yes.
That's That's
But
a
they
separate
should do
thing.
That
Go do that.
with
Yeah.
YouTubers,
100%.
and TikTokers,
and get that in.
Rush.
Don't put them in MSG and call it like a 10-round fight when someone could potentially get serious.
Yeah.
Because
I think it's disrespectful to the people that are grinding in the gym for the last 20 years. To
bro,
get an
and then you
opportunity.
get guys that like who want to do this and they're like put in the time, put in the effort, put in like, and they're not getting the shots because some YouTubers got more followers than he does, right? Mind you, like
happens in
again,
a lot of,
it's all about money.
verticals,
Though.
right?
It's all about
Happens
fucking money.
If
At
you're
the
a
end of the
DJ,
day.
happens if you're a singer.
Yeah.
If you can get clicks and you can get views, at the end of the day, it's unfortunate because a lot of people like, let's call, I don't want to call them like artists, but everyone has a craft, right? At the end of the day, there's also like everything comes down to dollars and cents, unfortunately. I mean, if you are by far the best at your craft and you're exceptional, the money follows. You don't have to worry about it. But, someone like Jake Paul can go and step in with arguably the greatest fighter of all time and also get paid a shitload
Logan
of money.
Paul.
Mind you, allegedly hasn't been paid yet. I don't know how true that is. But I do think that it in the long run, I do think there could be a benefit to the sport in the sense that, I got into the sport. My first fight I ever remember watching was Canelo versus De La Hoya.
Okay.
Mayweather versus De La Hoya.
Yeah.
From that moment, I was hooked. I was like, this sport's crazy. This is unbelievable. So, like all these guys who watch, KSI and Jake Paul, they're going to stick around? Probably not. But somebody who saw a McGregor versus Mayweather probably now says, well, I was a UFC fan. Like, I'm now over to boxing. Someone who saw Logan Paul fight Mayweather, maybe they're like, okay, it's a bit of a spectacle, but, this is kind of a cool thing. So I don't know what the percentage that sticks around is, but I do think that it can have a net positive effect on the sport and help grow it and bring more of that mainstream media to it. Because, you turn on TSN, you'll see, I see UFC Friday night, like there was a fight on last night, and I see the highlights there. Boxing, I don't see it on TSN, right? It's not.
So I think the real problem is TV networks have got into bed with promoters exclusively. Top Rank's in bed with ESPN. You can't get stuff on ESPN if you're not Top Rank.
Oh, that's a good point.
Showtime is in bed with PPC, and DAZN is in bed with Matchroom. And
So
Golden Boy.
wait, that's fact.
That's a known
Well,
thing.
you see ESPN
That's why some fighters don't fight each other because they're with certain promoters that are married to certain networks.
Wow, I had no idea.
Now
If
let's
you're in
do
a
the
state-
math.
Is this
here.
legal? Like,
So,
or is
yeah,
this just
and Lee, just to
yeah?
clarify, I think this is true. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I actually didn't know this till recently. If you fight in like a stable for a promoter, the promoter will most likely match up guys within their or manager match up guys there and occasionally cross over. But
So what they'll do is they'll usually match guys within their stable, or they'll find an opponent that is in a stable that they're willing to give them enough
what's a stable? Sorry.
So, like, for example, let's say you're a promoter, I'm a promoter. I have 20 guys signed to me, you got 20 guys signed to you, you got 20 guys signed to him, right? Most likely, if you are getting funded by ESPN, you're not going to put your ESPN cash cow over on Showtime to get his ass kicked.
Yeah.
Because
So
then
I'm
your
gonna keep
deal
my-
goes
I'm gonna
sour.
keep my guys
So
with
what you're
my
going to do
guys.
is you're going to say, hey, why don't you give me the guy that you don't care too much about, and I'm going to bring him over to ESPN. I'm going to get this guy and overpay and bring him over here. So your cash cow, and my cash cow are never really crossing paths because we don't want to lose our TV deal.
it's also why a lot of these big fights, like an Errol Spence and thing, they're not the same.
No, so like you look at Earl Spence and Crawford. Crawford literally just went to a legal battle with Top Rank to get a release from his contract. Now he's a free agent. So now Al Heyman is approaching him to sign him with PBC. So then when he's signed with that organization, then he'll fight Earl Spence. So hypothetically, if Earl Spence loses, well, then they still got both
They got
guys.
a new guy now,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Now this guy keeps
And it could be
keeps Showtime
another
happy.
fight in a trilogy, whatever, and it pays for itself.
So before this, and this is when I first got into boxing, this stuff wasn't going on.
Sorry, and then after, I want to hear how you got into
Okay, no
boxing. I'm
problem.
always so curious because it's like, did you just like fighting as a kid? And you're like, yeah, I'm bigger than everybody else. I'm gonna fuck this dude up. You know what? Let me get into this business. Like, I'm curious to know because I was like thinking, how the fuck do you?
So
Tell us the part about like how it was when you got into it, and then kind of how you got it.
Okay,
That
so
makes sense.
yeah, for
maybe the
sure.
opposite.
Whichever way you want, man.
Yeah.
How I got into boxing was I opened a tattoo parlar, and I didn't even like.
How old were you?
How old am I now? 30.
how old were you at
I
the time?
was 12 years old, 27.
Okay.
I was running nightclubs, And I was like, I don't want to be the guy that's in his late 40s, still running nightclubs, going home at 4 a.m, no kids, no
100%,
family.
100%.
So let's open some business. A friend of mine's little brother had a tattoo shop that he was kind of like he came from a wealthy family, didn't really have the greatest work ethic. And he's like, I don't think I can run this. And I said, no, I'm going to sell my car and I'm going to buy it. So I did that, not knowing anything about tattoos. Got in blind and started hiring people like, how do I pay you? How does this industry work? Like nothing. Figured that out a little bit. And then I was like, okay, I got to get stars in here to be able to get clients in here. So I got invited to some boxing match in Mississauga, the Hershey Center. And Sam Vargas was fighting. And there was 6,000 people there. And I was like, what? How is this happening? I didn't know about this. And I was like, that kid looks like some rough Spanish guy that has some tattoos. Let me tattoo him. So I'm like, bro, can I tattoo you? If I tattoo you for free, maybe all your fans are going to come get tattooed in my shop. So as he was getting tattooed, I don't even tattoo. Sorry. Like the artist was going to tattoo him, but my shop was going to tattoo him. As he's getting tattooed, I'm picking his brain on how this thing works. And I'm like, bro, what? You got paid that? It doesn't make sense. Like, look at all the people that were there. Like, someone needs to manage your career. This thing needs to be big in Toronto. And then him and I went back and forth. He didn't think I was experienced enough to manage him. I managed a couple other guys. A year later, came back around. I started managing his career. And then I said, okay, my goal is to manage you for 5 years on the grounds that after those 5 years, I'm going to be the promoter in Toronto that brings highest level of boxing to Toronto. Because every other sport that comes here flourishes. Like, I know it took 20 years for the Raptors to get there, but TFC, they're the only Canadian team with the Jays. Like, even the CFL still does 30,000 tickets. So I knew there was a market here, but Toronto's not going to buy into like bushwagon crappy fights. They want like the highest level.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of work that had to be done. So at that time, it was around 2012 is when I got into the industry, 2015 when I promoted my first show. So back to where we were talking. TV networks were not married to a promoter. You had to bring a fighter, and the network would marry to the fighter. So like main events had Sergey Kovalev. Yvonne Michel in Montreal had Jean Pascal, had Adonis Stevenson, had Lucien Boutte. Don King was a big player. He had a lot of the guys. Golden Boy had a lot of the guys. Top Rank had a lot of the guys. But HBO Boxing would go to whoever that promoter is that had that guy, and they would put on the fight. So if you're with Top Rank, you're Top Rank, you're Bob Arum, and you got a whole stable of people, but you work with HBO. You're Oscar De La Hoya, and you're Golden Boy. Well, you got Danny Garcia, and you got Timothy Bradley. They're both HBO fighters, but they're two different promoters. So the promoters were forced to have to work together because the fight was going to take place on HBO. When HBO decided to get out of boxing because they felt the money wasn't there anymore, Showtime came out with this whole PBC model where they bought all
PBC stand for?
Premier Boxing Championships.
Okay, gotcha.
What they did is they signed about 200 fighters. They had a big startup. They got a bunch of money up front, and they bought television. So they bought, instead of getting money from TV, they bought the airtime. So they bought NBC, they bought ESPN, they bought Bounce, BET, Fox, Showtime. Basically almost every free-to-air television, they bought it, and then they pushed boxing out every week or two. So anyone that didn't have Premier Television could watch boxing every week. Made them recognize that the brand is like a household brand. If you fight for PBC, you must be top level. And then they screwed all the networks and then went back to Showtime and said, hey, Showtime, guess what? We're PBC. ESPN got stung so hard because they invested so much money into it that they said, we're out of boxing. So now HBO's out of boxing, ESPN's out of boxing, and Showtime's the player. So the problem is when HBO got out of boxing, Top Rank, Bob Arum, a 90-year-old Hall of Fame promoter, said, what do we do with our company? We got nowhere to put our guys on. Well, he used to promote Muhammad Ali on ESPN, and he had the deals with all the libraries and everything. So he goes into ESPN's office and says, hey, let's do an exclusive deal. You'll never get screwed over because it's just Top Rank and ESPN. We brand it together. So now ESPN's back in the game. So now Golden Boy doesn't have a home. Matchroom,
Which is
Eddie Hearn, but it's actually Barry Hearn. So Barry Hearn's been doing it for like 40 years. Eddie comes out, and Eddie wants to be Dana White of boxing.
He seemed, that's the vibe I always got from him.
Yeah,
He seemed like a
it's
guy-
about Eddie.
Yeah.
So Eddie, genius, goes to this new startup, DAZN, in UK. I want to be the Netflix of sports. All right, well, I'm the guy to take you there, but we got to go to USA. So Eddie has his deal with Sky Sports, which is the reason why he's such a big deal, because Sky Sports is premium. Like, they're just everywhere. Then he convinces DAZN, what we're going to do is we're going to take this platform to US, and I'm going to sign all these fighters, and they can only fight on the DAZN platform. He did that, but the problem now, like you were saying, how do you not see the highlights? Is DAZN is a streaming service. Why is TSN or ESPN or Sky Sports going to air the highlights for a subscription streaming service? There's no revenue there. You're driving traffic. It's
Away
like
from your
it's
channel.
like Blockbuster saying, "Hey, why don't you go to Netflix?" Like it didn't make any sense at that time, right?
No, I'd be like Amazon Prime showing highlights or showing trailers for Netflix movies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It does not make sense. So long story short, what's happened now is you have these trains that are trying to control an industry, but they can't cross the tracks to make mega fights, and they can't really get the proper exposure because the only exposure they can get is their own supporting, like, highlight reels or supporting shows or anything like that.
Of everyone we ever had on this show, that is one of the most thorough and like easy to understand explanations of something within the domain that someone has. I'm not even kidding you. Like, I mean, you don't follow boxing. You understand exactly.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a very well put explanation. I did not know all of that.
Yeah.
And I followed the sport again for a while. I didn't realize how. And I mean, I knew Eddie Hearn was the zone. I knew some of this stuff, but
to second your point, when you said UFC was so prominent, like, Dana White is a fucking genius.
Yeah.
He turned a sport
Into a lifestyle.
but he turned a brand into the sport. Like,
yeah.
like
Tissue and Kleenex.
majority of
Yeah.
people, they don't say, "Hey, did you watch the MMA fights? Like, did you watch UFC?" Like, it's UFC. You fight for the UFC belt.
Yeah.
Like, the promotional company holds the sanctioning body's belt. It's like a Bellator world title is nothing. It means nothing.
Nothing.
As an MMA like starting point, you want to be the UFC champion.
guys
Like,
would I would just venture to guess most guys, if they said I can go to UFC and make 10,000 a fight or Bellator and make 100 in the early days of their career, they're going to the UFC to get the exposure.
1,000%.
But that's interesting too. And then on that point, like, I think Dana White and the Fertitta brothers bought it for like, I think $3 million.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think they just sold it recently for either, I don't know if it was $1 billion or $3 billion.
No, it was more. I think it was 2.1 billion. I could be wrong.
Yeah, but it was a
some
lot.
ludicrous-
Once you get to
ludicrous
10 digits, it doesn't fucking matter.
And I think that's
It
in
really
like
does.
15, like 12 years, 15 years. I don't even know. It wasn't that long ago. Like,
Yeah.
anyways,
he turned it into a household name.
But that's one of the things. Go ahead. Sorry.
So, yeah, I just want to. When you said that UFC was making a prominent push and boxing was falling off, that was in that transition period where all these networks were in shambles. So you didn't have an American heavyweight champion that was going to be on TSN, on Sky Sports, on all these different networks around the world. You just had some guy that was on Showtime, and if you didn't subscribe for Showtime, Canada doesn't air Showtime. Like,
You have
he's
no idea
not
who
going
he
to be
is.
a Mike Tyson. He can't be.
yeah.
It's just impossible because you don't have the right exposure.
So then how does boxing, like, moving forward, how does it turn into like a UFC where you have household everyday names? Because I feel like even right now at any given time there's like 4 heavyweight champions, right?
Yeah.
So how do you have that one dude? How do you have that next Mike Tyson? Like,
So the
growing up, Mike
problem
Tyson
is,
was
like-
that dude, right? He was just
Yeah.
he was the dude that had the 4 belts or what. He unified everything, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. So
Who's the guy now? Because there's Joshua.
Joshua just lost to Usyk.
So this is the first time in a long time that there's 2 divisions that are unified right now. Because Haney has all the belts.
Yeah.
Undisputed. Well, it's undisputed is the term. Haney and Usyk has all the belts.
No, Usyk does not. Tyson Fury still has the WBC.
You're
Oh, yeah,
right.
you got Tyson
Sorry.
Fury.
Yes. You're right. You're
Yeah,
right.
who
but there
did
are
he
other
beat? He beat
divisions
that
that are
other
unified
guy.
right now.
Tyson Fury beat that other guy.
Charlo has every belt at 154. Canelo has every belt at 168.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I
Canelo
believe-
and Haney are unified and all that. Charlo,
Yeah.
I didn't know Charlo was unified.
Yeah, he just unified
he
all
won his
of
last
them.
fight, like
Yeah.
recent. It's like a month ago.
It
or
was
2 months
like,
ago.
within the last 3 months.
Yeah.
Josh Taylor had everything at 140, but I think he just got stripped or he had to vacate.
Yeah.
Like so in boxing, here's the thing. You know how you had all those networks that are competing with each other? Now you have these organizations that are competing
Yeah,
with
Rick,
each other.
get ready to get real
No,
confused
it's,
here.
no,
it's the exact same fucking shit.
It's just
So you got
different
4
fucking-
groups.
It's another
different
layer
column.
You
here.
got 4
Yeah.
groups that are saying, I'm more important, pay me. I'm
They're
more
like
important.
governing body kind of
But
thing.
they're all recognized. So if you're a boxer and you could have 2 or 3 or 4 belts, that's like the real fuck you. Like, I got one. I'm unified. I'm taking this one. I'm taking that. I'm going to go up to this weight class. But all these belts, that's how they make money. They're sanctioning fees. So when you turn around and say, hey, man, I just beat everyone and I paid you your 3% for this huge fucking world title fight, and now you're getting like technical on me and saying that I have 6 months to defend it against my mandatory that's from Germany that no one's ever fucking heard of.
Watch, yeah.
Like, fuck this
you.
belt, man. Take it back. I'm going to fight over here. I'm the head honcho. I'm the one that makes all the money.
Wait, so this actually happens?
Hell yeah. Yeah.
Fighters tell their organization,
Yeah.
oh, fuck you, I can't
Tyson
take my
Fury
belt
said,
back.
"Oh, that's what you want to do to me with Vladimir Klitschko? You want me to rematch this guy? This is what I think of your belt," and threw the IBF belt in the garbage.
No fucking
Yeah,
way.
he's like, "I don't need the belt. You guys need me. I'm
Yeah.
the one that sells the tickets, not the belt."
But they also do things too where,
That's
like,
fucking
and maybe
sick.
you can explain this better. Like, they'll, and I don't know which. I think it was Canelo. They gave somebody like he had all the belts, but then he had to vacate one. But they made him like the honorary holder of a belt.
Yeah, it's like,
So
where
that-
he's the franchise
Yeah, the
champion.
franchise champ.
It's a
So-
fucking scam.
So they want more guys to have
It's like
opportunities at belts,
WBA.
right?
Like, I'm totally suing myself right now. And these organizations are probably like, "Fuck this kid. I'm not giving you a shot." But like the WBA just made a gold belt. Like, what the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not a world title belt. It's not. The sanctioning fees are close to a world title fight. I don't even, doesn't position you in the ratings or anything. But you are the WBA gold champion.
So wait, what is
like?
it?
You're probably better off to go buy a fucking Louis Vuitton belt. At least so people know what it is. You know what I mean?
Honestly, you are
That's
not
the
wrong.
clever.
That's so funny. 44 minutes. That's so good. So the sanctioning fees, they said they get approximately like
It's like 1 to 3%,
of the
depending
total
on
of
the purses.
of the purses.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But do the math, man. Haney had to pay 12% of his purse for 4 belts.
Fuck yeah.
So and the
It's not like a house deal where like, oh, there's 3 agents and we're a team. We got to split the 2.5% together. No, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5. I'm not
Come
buying the
on.
fucking house. You know what I mean? It's like,
and then the fucking tax man's got to take a
Yeah.
good portion of that.
It's crazy,
That's
man.
so funny,
That's
though.
the one thing that with boxing, and so this is actually perfect because I did want to like ask you. We're talking about the UFC. This is the layer that kind of brought it all together. I wanted to ask. So you have all these channels trying to now. There's promoters that are not trying to associate with channels so they can get their fighters out, build these names. Then you have these belts that obviously you want people to fight for belts and the title fights and all that stuff. Do you think boxing would be better off for the sport and the fans and everything if there was one governing body over all of it, or just the way it is, maybe cleaned up a little? Like, what do you think is an ideal scenario?
would not be okay for the fighters.
Okay.
Because there's not a fucking UFC fighter on this planet that will ever make the money that a boxer makes.
Good point.
And that's just what it is. And that's because we'll go back to the real estate deal, okay? When you got 10 people that want to buy this house, that house might only be worth $1 million, but some fucker out there really wants that house, and he might cough up 2.5. But now when you're with the UFC, it's like, hey, that house is worth $1 million, and you're really good. I like you. I'll give you 1.2. There's no negotiating power. There's nothing because
This is just
it's
the
a
UFC.
monopoly.
That's a good
You
point.
fight for that belt under that organization by that employer. Whereas like the WBC is over here. You know what? You don't want to work with me? Cool. Oh, ESPN, you don't want to pay me this? What does Showtime want to pay me? Like it all goes into bidding wars, and there's enough players on the team.
And then because someone's gonna need the content, someone's gonna need the fighter, someone's need that big name fighter to promote
Yeah.
the event, they're gonna pay up.
What needs to happen though is promoters got to stop being pussies. No, and that's just a straight fact.
Okay.
Because why did Canelo and Triple G fight for a third time? Because they fought twice on fucking HBO. If they were on DAZN before, they would have never fought 3 times. Because some guy wouldn't allow his fighter to fight your guy. You see what I mean? It's like, why did Marquez and Pacquiao fight 5 fucking times? Because losses happen in the sport. There's no different than why LeBron James loses 50 games in 2 seasons, but he's still an all-star and still wins a championship. Boxing is so tarnished right now that if you lose,
You're out.
then you're out.
Yeah.
And the networks think that because the promoters have made them think that. And it's like, we got this undefeated Mayweather, but Mayweather destroyed the sport by having that O. Whereas if he took a loss, came back, he probably would have been even bigger. Because you look at Mike Tyson, you look at Lennox Lewis, you look
Muhammad
at
Ali lost.
all these fucking guys that are
Yeah.
bigger than Mayweather, all lost. They all lost and came back, and they all were willing to go to another part of the world and do this or do some
didn't all the
crazy
guys
shit.
back then, like Sugar Ray,
No,
Hagler,
Lucky
all-
Luciano never lost.
Who?
Lucky Luciano, not Lucky Luciano.
Oh, you're thinking-
Rocky Marciano.
Rocky Marciano.
Lucky Luciano really lost.
Rocky Marciano was 49 and 0.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
I'm
that's
some
an-
Italian,
that's-
some generic Italian name,
Some fucking mobster that's clipped.
You were close. It rhymed at least. But no, that's an interesting thing. Well, I don't know though, because now you have Canelo. So he lost.
Canelo's a prime example, bro. Canelo got out of his deal, and he's his own promoter. You know what he did? You know how he unified the fucking division? Because he said, hey, I'll fight this stiff on fucking DAZN, and I'm not signing no exclusive deal because I'm the cash cow.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll fight Caleb Plant on fucking Showtime, and I'll run the risk of if I lose, I'll be your fighter because I'll beat your ass on Showtime and bring this fucking money right back to DAZN.
Was that in the deal? If he lost, he would have to.
I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, he could say whatever the fuck he wants because he's going to say, like, oh, you think I got to be married to you? Cool. Well, make your guy beat me.
Well, he clearly not married to anybody. I think DAZN gave him the highest deal, one of the highest deals in sports at the time. Only second to Mike Trout in baseball. They gave him $200 million.
But what happened to that deal?
It came apart after.
Broke apart, sued, parted ways.
Now let me ask. So yeah, we are going all over, but I love this.
Wait, before you get into that,
Go ahead.
What divisions? Not division. Which organization's the best?
Like when you say organization, meaning
Like-
sanctioning body.
Yeah, like
this
the,
is
the
where
belt
it get
people,
funny
the belt
for me.
people, whoever has the belts. Like there's like
Right
five
now, I'm
guys,
working with
yeah.
the WBC, so they're the best
So
because they're paying my bills.
So listen. So people know you have WBC.
The WBC is the green belt.
Yeah.
They're Mexican.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
Like they're the ancestry of where the belt was created
yeah.
is
So
Mexican.
WBC.
WBC,
World
I'd
Championship
say
Boxing.
yes, is
World Boxing.
Yes.
World
Championship.
Boxing Championships.
And
Then
we like them the best. 'cause
we
that's
like
their
them
people.
good. The green belt. They call
Okay.
us the money belt.
I've actually held the green belt.
Okay.
I went to see Wilder versus Luis Ortiz, and I got to like put it on. It was pretty. Things
Nice.
heavy. It's nice.
Okay, so WBC.
They've been around, I think, since like the 50s. I
Okay.
could look totally bad here not knowing this
Our
shit.
fact checker Danielle's not here, so
Yeah,
don't
we
worry.
don't even have Danielle right now.
WBO is World Boxing Organization.
Okay.
They're based out of Puerto Rico. They've been around prominently since the 80s. I'd say they're probably third or fourth.
Okay.
IBF, International Boxing Federation, they are American-based. They were massive, and then they were involved in a huge FBI scandal with a lot of corruption in the 80s involving, what's his name? Don King.
There's
They're
definitely
get-
some fucking Netflix documentary about that.
There was all kinds of payoffs, dives, all kinds of shit, and then they got torn apart. Now they're the ones that follow the rules. So if you're a mandatory for IBF, you're getting that fucking title shot because they don't pay any funny business.
They're by the book now, eh?
Yeah. So like
They got auditors coming in
acronyms
every
like
year.
WBC, World Boxing Championships or World Boxing Champions, but they call them We Be Collecting.
get paid.
WBA.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay.
You get
WBA,
paid.
World Boxing Association. We Be Asking. So it's like there's different ones. Do you know what I mean? But
Bro, this is
all
all
something-
Hey, I bet you this is all like deep in the Reddit threads. You can find out all this
yeah,
information.
you'd have to be watching.
Bro,
a lot
he's
of
the
shit.
one writing
I'm giving you
these
the
fucking
quick
Reddit
Coles
threads.
notes.
But see, there's a lot of stuff that like boxing.
So wait, sorry.
Go ahead.
We're at 4 now? So WBC, WBA, IBF.
WBA, WBO, IBF.
So there's 4 main ones.
Yes.
Those are your bread and
Those are your the WBA has been around for 100 years. That's the oldest one.
WBA, we'd be asking. Okay.
Yeah. They're based out of
Venezuela.
Venezuela, I believe is where they were created.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Okay, I would
yeah.
not expect.
You'll
that.
see like a shit ton of Venezuelan champions.
Oh,
They're
yeah?
like the easiest. Like, oh, I got a Venezuelan guy. I want him to be a champion. All right, follow this
WBA.
blueprint.
So you're saying now what's the best? I mean, that's like best is a vague term because you don't know what. Like I think
But I will say this. You know how you're asking about all these variations, like the gold belt and all these things? The WBA said they're cleaning up. There's no more interim champions. No more that. You got one fucking champion for each weight class. Because there was times like, oh, he's the super champion. He's the regular champion. He's the interim champion. Like, come on, man. You guys are all fucking 140 pounds. You don't fight each other. But you're all world champions under the same organization that gets paid on all your fights. Like, this is
Yeah.
it's
Ridiculous.
Just, yeah. I understand from a fan's perspective. They like you almost have to have a university degree to understand it in boxing. Like,
I
it's just
follow
too-
a sport. I think I'm a above average fan. If not a pretty serious fan, I couldn't like I could not ever figure all this stuff out. And then when I
Yeah.
started seeing like recently though the franchise champion this, I'm like, well, I don't what. There's a belt or is there not a belt? I don't
Yeah.
understand what's happening. It's
Like right now, if I gotta like, there's this kid I got that just fought on Wednesday, Brian Acosta. He's 18-0 from Hermosillo, Mexico. He's 23 years old. He's the real deal. Like he's in Juan Estrada's training camp. The guy that just fought Chocolatito.
Yeah.
He's Miguel Berchelt, Oscar Valdez. They're all friends. They're all trained together. He will be a world champion. So because of that, I take him down the WBC route. The Mexican people support their own. They want this kid to go somewhere. I know he can really fucking fight, so I'll pay the sanctioning fees to position him into the world ratings to get him the right fights.
Okay.
But sometimes, like, you just want to put on a good fucking fight. Why am I paying sanctioning fees when Mike from Scarborough is world class and I got a guy from upstate New York that wants to fight him? No, let's make a fight that people want to see. And that's what boxing's not happening, because they'll take Mike from Scarborough and they'll fight Tom from somewhere in South America that no one knows, because they can backdoor him into number 15 of the ratings because he is from Venezuela and he's in the WBA ratings top 15 and he's a weak opponent. And then now your Mike from Scarborough that's top 15 can go out to Vegas and get fucking pummeled and make us Canadians look stupid.
Yeah.
It's just like, what is the objective? The objective is to build good fights, because just like you can't follow all of boxing, if Gervonta Davis is going to fight Ryan Garcia, I don't care if you're not a fucking deep fan. You're going to watch it because that's the fight people want to see. Risk the reward. Big punchers. Big social following. A black, rough guy that gets fucking tatted and fucking arrested, or the clean-cut Mexican that has fucking emotional problems. It's like,
but they're both big punchers or something.
He's a man of faith.
Yeah, it's like you want to see shit like that. It's like Oscar and Floyd. But like the problem is those fights aren't happening.
So is that your approach then, and you're going back to calling other promoters to stop being pussies?
Yeah,
so to
let's put our guys against each other.
You want to
if my guy sucks, he sucks. If your guy sucks, he sucks. Who cares? The fans get to see who fucking is good and who's not.
So is that your objective?
Sign better guys.
You want to put on the best fights for the fans?
I want to put on the best fights for the fans. I don't want to just hold this little nut that I got and be like, okay, I got to divvy it up and make sure it grows so I can eat something this year. No, man. Let's fucking risk it. Let's go to the fucking gambling house and see who can win.
I honestly,
honestly,
I do love that, man, because like that's one of the biggest things. Like all these fights, and that's the worst part.
It's an ego thing, man. Every promoter doesn't want to say they lose. You're not the fucking one fighting, man. Get the guy paid.
Yeah,
get him paid. Like Sam Vargas. 43 professional fights. The guy used to work at Swiss Chalet and nine amateur fights. He was not supposed to fight Earl Spence, Danny Garcia. He fucking for sure wasn't supposed to knock down Amir Khan.
Yeah.
He wasn't supposed to have a split decision against Luis Collazo, two-time world champion in Madison Square Gardens. But you know what it was from? He fought anyone, anytime, any place, and he was willing to lose.
Yeah.
And that, the consistency in his career, makes a good athlete. It's no different than a basketball player, NFL player. They get on the fucking field or they get on the court and they're willing to lose.
Movies, right?
Yeah.
Rocky movies. Sylvester Stallone got thrown in to fight Apollo Creed. He was a last minute fucking substitute.
Yeah.
He's like,
but he took the fight. And that's what made a Rocky movie. If he said, hey, man, you know what? I need 6 weeks to get ready. My ankle hurts. People are going to watch that shit? No one.
But I think that's a thing, too. You made a point about Mayweather having that O for so long, tarnishing the sport. Like, he was, I again, correct me if I'm wrong, but he was the one that kind of set this roadmap, or maybe his team, about like kind of picking and like following a structure.
He handpicked
and knowing.
His
so
shit.
I feel like a lot of these young guys who are really good, not even at all, but a lot, their managers also don't want to lose their cash cow, so they're just trying to, one peg at a time.
You are 1,000% right. But at some point, you got to look yourself in the mirror and know you're not fucking Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
Like, he was fucking an Olympic silver medalist by a robbery. Like, they know he was the gold medalist. Mm-hmm. He was the guy. There was no one that ever gave him any problems.
He was a villain in the media. Yeah, he didn't care.
And did they really handpick his opponents? No, maybe they handpicked his opponents at the tail end of his career to make sure that the narrative never got upset. Okay. But, bro, he would smash anyone put in front of him in the first fucking 25 fights.
Funny enough, one of our buddies, his cousin fought Floyd in the Olympics. Dominic Filane was his name.
Yeah, Filani? Is that his name?
Filane.
From Thunder Bay?
Yeah, from a small town up there called Schreiber. He fought Floyd in a Olympic match. I think he lost. But still pretty fucking cool to say, right?
Cool as hell, yeah.
You know what's funny though? I didn't realize the politics that were involved in boxing. Like, if I was a boxer myself,
sports, I would argue it's probably one of the
worst.
From just based off this conversation, I'm going to assume it is bad.
But Rick, Don King used to charge Mike Tyson, I think, like, what was it, $20,000 a month in towel fees.
But he was a fucking maniac. Yeah, Mike Tyson would buy a Mercedes at every fucking city he flew to and then leave it at the airport when he left. There was like Mercedes left in Mike Tyson's name in a bunch of different cities. That's how fucking reckless he was with his money. But think about it. You got an 18-year-old that's
world
fucking worth
champion.
millions of dollars that was in the hood the whole life.
Bro,
and then his
zero education.
Majority of his life he lived in some fucking field house with some white guy that don't know what he was doing with these boys up there. He was making them fight, but I'm sure they were fucking brainwashed to shit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So it's like,
sorry, I cut you off there, Ricky. But I'm talking about boxing.
I was
About the
gonna
sport
say,
and
no,
how
but
corrupt
like
it is.
if you're a boxer, like if I'm a fighter myself, like obviously you got to think you're one of the best. Like if you're gonna do the sport, because you have to be a little fucked up to be a boxer, right? You're going in there getting your fucking head smashed. I would want to fight the best person day in and day out, because that's how you get better and that's how you know your talent. If I lose, you lose. Like it is what it is. But then on the flip side, there's always that kind of the mental aspect of any sport that once you get knocked down, once you get knocked out, you know it's possible. Like Ronda Rousey in UFC. She was undefeated for fucking 20, 30 matches or whatever, and then she got knocked out, and then I don't think she ever
Wasn't the
really
same,
came
yeah.
back. Like she came back as a fighter, but she wasn't the same fighter, because in the back of her mind, she knows she's not, untouchable anymore, right? You think that plays a factor?
I do,
in it?
but I think people have to look that the proof is in the past, man. Like everyone that fucking lost, that made some of themselves, came back. It's what you do from the loss. It's not losing.
Yeah.
It's how you lose, who you lose to, and what you do afterwards.
What you learn from
like
it.
and. Second to your point, you don't want to go into a gym and be like, hey, bro, you're not going to make it. You're shit. Like, and be so straight to some of these kids because you don't know what the kid could do. But as the kid, you got to also know that when you're in the gym and if you're sparring a guy that was a national team champion and he's 10-0 as a pro and you're about to turn pro and you're beating him up, you're probably pretty good. If you're the 10-0 kid and you're getting beat up by this fucking kid that's coming up that no one ever heard of, and then you're getting beat up by someone else, you're probably not that good. And like, I think these people, they start fooling themselves by like, oh, I'll fight a stiff. I'm 12-0. I'm 14-0. Yeah, but you're getting your ass kicked every other day in the fucking gym. And then you just handpick this one little guy that took a 3 fucking stopover flight from fucking somewhere around the world, slept in no AC, doesn't, you know what I mean? He's fucking on a crazy time difference, walks into the ring, boom,
puts
it's
the
over.
work to you,
Like,
yeah.
were you really better than that guy? Or like, did everything happen to allow you to fucking get that ref to stop the fight early? Like, it's not like, hey, you are gonna race Usain Bolt, who's faster. Like, boxing's so political, man.
Yeah.
So fucking political.
It is.
And that's why hometown advantage is so big. I was talking to a guy that's in boxing, and he didn't know that the promoter controls the ring size, because we were saying the ring was small yesterday.
Wait, sorry, the ring size isn't there's no
changes,
standard
yeah.
size?
No, it goes from 16 by 16 inside up to 22 by 22 inside, that the promoter who's staging the show gets to fucking
Shut
choose.
the fuck up.
Yeah.
And the Olympics is
Yeah.
the biggest one, right?
Now, that's
Yeah.
a standard size. Now,
So, sorry, just to confirm. Let's say I'm fighting in Vegas against, Joe Smith.
Yeah.
The promoter who puts on this event gets to decide the ring size.
yeah, but if
There was
you
a
are
fight that
fighting
happened
against Joe
recently.
Smith, you would have a contract that you would have a lawyer that would tooth and comb it. So if that ring size was in it, or it wasn't in it, you would put it in it and say, hey, the ring has to be of this
Yeah.
size or plus.
I think it
or
was
something.
Canelo and
So
Bivol
the-
did it recently. I'm trying to think of who it was. But
Bivol wanted a massive ring because
Yes.
he's a boxer.
Yes.
Canelo wanted to cut the ring off, so he
Yes.
wanted a small ring. Ended up with a massive ring. Look at the outcome was. Last
think
night, that 100% that plays a factor. Billy Joe Saunders fought David Lemieux. David Lemieux's a devastating puncher. And Billy
David
Joe
was
Saunders.
Canadian, Rick.
Yeah. So Billy Joe Saunders was the world champion, and David Lemieux was supposed to go over to England to fight him. They got offered like double the money to come bring the title here and fight David Lemieux here, so David Lemieux could have his hometown advantage. Billy Joe said, no, we're going to war for who the judges are and where they are from the world, and the ring has to be this big. Bro, he danced around him and outboxed him. If that ring was half the size, he would have got knocked the fuck out.
Billy
it
Joe
just
would've
is what
knocked
it
out, yeah.
is.
Bro, that's actually insane.
There's a lot of like fine details, and you got to think about it. Every fight has a different contract.
You're an average fan, and you would never know that shit.
Yeah.
You would just say Billy Joe's better than David Lemieux because he won.
100%.
There's
Exactly.
there's a lot of things. I mean, like we got to think about it too. Like gloves matter at that, and maybe
I've heard gloves, because glove
Like-
sizing is different based on the weight class, right?
The weight of the same. So 147 and down is in an 8 ounce. Above 147 is in a 10 ounce. So manufacturers' weights, they can't, like, they're all to spec.
Yeah.
But what they put in them is not. Some are foam, some are horsehair, some are like gel foam. And if you're a puncher and you have bad hands, then you want to be in a certain type of glove. If
Yeah.
you have great hands and you're a big puncher, then you want to be in like
heavy fisted, shit.
tiny
You want
little
you want
horsehair
less
gloves,
padding.
like that over the rounds. You're gonna feel those knuckles, and some people know that. Mayweather, Maidana, he didn't want them in the Everlast MXs because those will put a fucking hole in someone's head, man. All the weight is in the wrist. There's nothing here. There's
Yeah.
all these little type of things, and that's why I enjoy this shit so much, because I become like so obsessive with knowing the details that, like, hey, you might know how to get some people in the fucking seats, but I know how to get every advantage. Like, I know I
It's a
don't
chess- it's a
stop
chess game.
learning
Yeah.
to know all these things, because like promoters at my level, like I'm not gonna say I'm a top level promoter. Like, I might be educated like that, but I don't have the credibility to say that. I don't have world champions. I don't have a massive network television deal. So if I'm dealing with a guy that's on my level, I'm leagues past him, because I have Hall of Fame promoters on speed dial. They're teaching me everything I can fucking know. So I'll get the ring size done, the glove size. Like, Brian Acosta just fought a guy from Spain. They brought their prime prospect up. I said at the gym when they're doing the media workout, yo, we got gold and black Everlast Power Locks, or white and black. What color? Or white and gold. What color is your outfit? Oh, white, blue, red. I said, these look sick on the outfit. You want to lock with these gloves? Boom. Now I put my guy in Reyes. So at the weigh-ins, this guy's saying, no, I want to wear those gloves. You fucking retard. Those gloves aren't going to fucking protect you like this fucking Mexican's going to put a hole in your head with these tiny little Reyes. He knocked him out in the 6th. I'm not saying it was the gloves,
No,
but I'm
man,
saying
so
everything
those
helps,
those
man.
little
psychologically,
advantages.
I'm telling Brian, yo, this guy's in padded gloves, and you're in these horsehair gloves. Bro, like, I'm totally transparent with my life. When I was 17, I started doing steroids, trying to keep up with everyone, and I remember I fucking jabbed my arm. I went in there, and I benched, like, 2 45s and a 25. Like 7 or 8 times. And I went over to the guy at the front desk. It was a powerhouse in Mississauga. It was just all juice bags. And then this fucking guy that looks like The Rock, he was there. Santino was his name. And he's like, bro, how are you lifting so much weight? I was like, I started my shit today. He's like, what did you take? And I was like, a bunch of Deca and Test and all this shit. And then he's like, but like, none of that shit's even in your body yet. Like, I know you did the injection today, but it won't be in you for a couple days. I went back down. I couldn't lift one fucking rep, man. It fucked me up psychologically, because like, that shit's real, man. Placebo is a real thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
fuck.
And like,
yeah.
when you got all these things aligning, like when Sam used a different nutritionist, Vargas, when he fought Con, and the nutritionist is there and said, bro, how do you feel? He's like, I'll fight him right now. And he's like, look at Con, look how fucked he is. He's all brittle, eating that pineapple. He did everything wrong. He did the weight cut wrong. He's like, he's gonna have a glass jaw for the first couple rounds.
Mind you, Con has a
Really? Is that what really did it? But I'll tell you right now, that's all Sam thought about. I just gotta touch him. I just gotta touch him. And he landed that right hand and knocked him down. Like, I'm not saying these things are sure shots, but they all play into
But
it,
it's
man.
it's all I forget the exact quote, but it's preparation's all like the little steps you can take towards the bigger like flight of stairs.
When you
or
know
something.
you
I forget
didn't
the
do
exact-
anything fucking wrong, and you knew you did extra stuff right, it's just confidence.
Bro,
Like,
it's those little things.
sports is all confidence. Like, are you gonna take that shot at the 3-throw? If you know you're never gonna miss it, like, you're just like a god. Like Steph Curry, he just knows he doesn't miss because he's so fucking confident.
Yeah.
He'll take shots at the other guys and be like, I might fuck this game up for this team. I'm a
He's like,
fucking
"Fuck
third
it."
string.
Well,
like,
that's what they said. Lou Williams. Lou Williams went on air saying, "It's like, bro, I'll miss 10 straight. I'll pull up in the 11th, no all confidence. Like, I know I ain't gonna miss that. I'm missing them, bro. I'm pulling up on the 12th. I know I'm gonna hit it, bro. Like,
you have to believe that.
you have
and
to.
when you really genuinely think like that, that ball goes in.
Bro,
Yeah.
I fuck.
It's just how the world
And it
works.
Bro, it's like me
boxing
talking
too,
to girls,
man.
bro. I can strike out 10 times in a row. I'll go talk to the 11th. Like, I've already got the number in my head, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you go to the 11th as if it's your first one. Like, you don't.
Yeah.
You have like it's all out of your mind,
Bro, for me, I'm the like the definition of like shoot or shoot. Like, I'll fucking, I can get 10 those in a row. Boom. 11th one, I got this. No questions asked.
You remember that fucking show? Fuck, for
He's
sure.
the VIP.
Yeah, I
knew-
could see him
saw that.
crushing it.
Yeah.
Just crushing it.
We didn't we meet one of the guys from that show, or did I meet him?
Maybe you did. I don't think I
know.
did.
Did you ever see that show?
Yeah,
Oh,
I've
did.
seen it a few times. I think
On
I met
MTV or Much Music,
I
whatever.
met one of the guys who was on that
They used
show.
to do that at Rockwood. You remember Rockwood back in the day?
Yeah, and then it was at Level on the
Level, yeah,
patio
yeah.
rooftop. Yeah.
What a funny show! Imagine going to that show. You would have. Yeah, Ricky would have done. Ricky does.
For
pretty
me,
well.
I don't care. I fucking. What's the worst that happens? You get rejected. Like, okay, boxing a little bit different. You get fucking knocked out. But in my life, I live a very normal life. I'll just. Anything I do, it's like, hey, what's the worst that happens? Okay, you don't make the deal. You get, you don't get the sale. Fuck,
I'm
all right,
retired
next
now
one.
in the game, but I'll give you a little insight. Like, I just had a newborn. I'm
Yeah.
100% loyal. I was not in my past relationships. I was always a player. And I use the motto of planting seeds, bro. You go
Yeah.
through the city, you're always out and about. You meet someone, you talk to them, and you just walk away. You don't ask for the number. You don't nothing. It's like a real odd, like, compliment. Like, wow, oh, you got beautiful eyebrows. Do you get them threaded or do you do you get
Oh,
wax?
shut up, that worked
And then
for you, eh?
boom, and then you leave. You don't even try and ask him her name. But
like,
bro,
who
the
was
city's
that?
so
Yeah, and
small.
they get,
3
like-
weeks later, they're at fucking Cheval and they walk, oh my God, that's the guy that knows me from the fucking eyebrows. He walked away. Boom. That girl's coming home with you.
That's the eyebrow guy.
Because you got these seeds planted all over and then some of them sprout, some of them don't.
This guy's got the strategy down, eh?
Bro, next girl I talk to, I'm
fishing.
gonna tell
You're
her.
just
Bro, next
casting,
girl I talk to,
casting.
I'm gonna compliment her eyebrows just for you.
Bro, do it, man.
Let me ask you, is that your strategy with boxing? You go in like, hey, you got a mean right hand. Then you just walk away, and then a year later you go back and you sign him.
My strategy with boxing is being young. A lot of these promoters are older, and I can relate to the guys. I can go to King Street and fucking take them out. I can say, hey, you know what? You are gonna get drunk tonight. Hey, you like Dusty Hernandez. He was signed to Rock Nation, $250,000 signing bonus. He had first one to have a Fila deal. Fila made a shoe for him. He was signed to Geico. Got caught with fucking 6 bricks and fucking 2 guns in his fucking house. They dropped him on everything. You better believe I'm calling that fucking kid up. I'm calling him up with a fucking lawyer, bro. You're from the hood. You're fucking half Puerto Rican and half Irish living in a predominantly black neighborhood in D.C. You're fucking shit. Like, the first thing you're getting with the $250,000 signing bonus is bricks and guns.
That's so crazy.
But you know what's going to happen? That kid can fight his fucking ass off. And I've been around enough to know that shit happens. I call the kid up and I say, yo, you know when that guy just fucking cut you off and said no one's here? I'm here. Sign this deal. Let's fucking get some paid.
Good
like
for you,
it,
man.
it happens,
Bro, I
man.
love
It
that.
happens.
Hey, you have to be opportunistic in this game.
And
Like
you got to be
somebody-
relatable. You got to be like, listen, man, I know you're going through some shit. Just fucking tell me, man.
Yeah.
Like, I got a kid right now.
Because
20-year-old.
but you can. That's where you can help. Like when I see some of these celebrities and like musicians, like like famous rich ass dudes going down with like drugs and stuff. I'm like, bro, how do you not have a fall guy or something? Bro, like talk to your people. You got this much money. Someone will go to the bin for 6 months for you when you get this much money, right? Like
Yeah, and then
bro, why
everyone's
do you think
fucking
people
judging
yo,
these fucking guys.
Drake has no fucking issues. Like, yo, Drake's smart, man. I'm sure he's got guys that'll fucking take the fall from
Take a dime
any
from him,
day
yeah.
of the week.
They
'cause,
got a
yo,
Ray Donovan in that crew.
Bro,
Yeah.
exactly.
They got one. They
Bro,
got
that's
one.
what I'm saying. Like when you got this much money, like you signed that $250,000. Yeah, bro. Of course you shouldn't be you shouldn't be buying drugs or guns. Like, bro, have somebody else that does everything for you.
Yeah.
They take care of it.
Like,
If that
why'd
guy
you
goes-
give me the $250,000?
Yeah.
I said I need 100 in cash. Why? What do you think I was buying a house with that cash? Come on, man. Why didn't you give me fucking 20,000 and
put the rest of the fucking
100,000 in
GIC?
GICs and 100,000 in property? No, because you want me to fail, man.
Yeah. 100%.
Why was Mike Tyson buying cars and leaving them? Like,
Dude, he was.
they don't know no better. They don't
Good for
fucking.
Tyson for having like a now. Well, it's unfortunate how his career went. Like he could have been like probably had some bad balance as well with like the environment he was in, all that stuff, but where he put himself. But it's good that now he's kind of like. I mean, he's fucking crazy now. Like he's like going on a podcast, eating like a handful of mushrooms and shit.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
But
but
that's
like,
the life he wants to live, right?
but what gets you up in the morning after you've been Mike Tyson your whole life, man?
yeah,
Like, really, what gets
that's a
you
fair
up?
point.
Like, his family, I'm sure,
Yeah.
because that shit you can't buy, and
He's seen enough money and
And
crazy
yeah,
shit
man.
to do.
yeah, he just wants
To
to, do
live
some
10
fun shit and
lifestyles,
try
yeah.
and make fucking
Yeah.
other people's lives different.
So one thing I want to ask, obviously, like, what's next for you? Like, what are you working on? I mean, I've seen like you've been involved with some pretty big events. Like the only real big boxing events that have happened, especially in Toronto, I see your name on them. You're young in the sport, like you said. Like, what's
Sorry,
next?
how
Trying
old
to-
are you, by the way?
39.
39.
Yeah.
Yeah. And most promoters like Al
Yeah.
Heyman's what, like 90?
Yeah, a lot of them are like he's an exceptional dude, man.
He's been in it
Harvard
forever.
fucking
Lawyer.
grad from
Yeah.
fucking law and business. Like Dana, what's his name? Don King, 93 or 92 or something like
Still
that.
in
Bob
it.
Arum in his
Yeah.
90s. Like Eddie Hearn, yeah, he's a couple years older than me, but my dad wasn't fucking Barry Hearn, and I didn't have a Sky Sports deal fucking handed to me when I was fucking in
Yeah,
diapers.
yeah.
Like the thing that I need is I need to train, just like how these guys have a network partner that believes in what I'm doing, and then we just get exposure. It's things like this, man. You build your own brand, and networks get excited. It's no different than the fucking than the TikTok guys. It's
Yeah.
like how does everyone make money? Like, I get it. No one's gonna say, "Oh, your dream's cool. I believe in it." But some guy from TSN's willing to fucking lose his job for it and sign off and say, "Hey, I'll cut you $50K a show," and it tanks. No,
Yeah.
you gotta build your brand, and then you gotta build your resume. I got like 40 something shows under my belt. I got some guys in the world ratings signed to me, so now I can approach a network with confidence and say, "Hey, man, I'm not some kid that has a dream and doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, This is all here.
Here's
I
my
just need
resume.
exposure.
That's what I've done.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not saying give me a huge checkbook. Why don't we work together? Give me a little bit of money to make my shows a little bit better. My shows get a little bit better. You get a little bit more ratings, and then we go to the next step. It's a long haul, but
Absolutely.
it's on.
And you
schedule.
plan, and you like, you love what you do. You want to stay in this for, like, this is the kind of what you see.
Yeah,
yourself going?
I'm taking my newborn and my chick and moving to New York, and probably early next year, just to
good for
shadow
you.
a Hall of Fame promoter
Good for
that
you.
said he would take it on. We'll go there for like 6 to 8 months. Still do shows here. Still have everything operating here. It's only an hour away on a flight, but like the difference is I'm here in Toronto and I could do everything I want to do, but there's no Hall of Fame promoter that I can go ask questions and
Like a
see
mentor.
how you're doing it. Mentor, competitor, like any of these.
Well, the market's
like,
also bigger. There's more legendary gyms out there. More things. You, like, the scene is probably much bigger out there, especially like before Vegas became Vegas. Having these fights there, like New York was like
New York was the
boxing
thing, man.
Mecca, yeah.
They probably still argue
New York and New
right?
Jersey were the biggest things, man.
Yeah.
Atlantic City and New York City.
Yeah. If you could put one fight together today, 2 fighters, 1 venue, where would it be?
Current active fighters?
Current active fighters. What venue and what date?
O2 Arena.
Oh,
I didn't
No,
expect
no,
that at
no.
all.
O2 Stadium.
Okay.
95,000 people. Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua.
Okay, that's a perfect segue because I want to ask you. 'cause
Reason being is because that's the one that bursts the bubble. That's the one that shows real raw skill in boxing, because Fury is just
the freak.
he's just another fucking level, and he's the character that will fill that stadium with him standing on a stage. Like, you just want to see the lead up, you want to see the games, you want to see everything, and then the aura of those two guys run into the fucking ring to collide 6'7", 6'9", like, it'd be fucking nuts.
Both have been knocked down many times in
Yeah.
their fights.
but you see their body types too. Like, I remember after Fury won his last fight, they're like, "This is the peak male physique." And then you have like
This is the heavyweight
Joshua, like
championship of the world.
what's his name?
Joshua's built like a Spartan.
Bro, he's actually like, he looks like
My-
a fucking
if I
like
was-
an NFL defensive end.
Yeah.
like
if
just
I
a
was
fucking
if
monster.
I was 6'7" or whatever, 7 feet tall like Fury is, like, he has the same body as me, and he moves like he's like 100
featherweight.
pounds.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
actually makes
Wild.
no sense.
Yeah.
That fight I want to ask you about, because they just talked recently. They've agreed to kind of just to fighting. Do you think it's actually gonna happen?
I think it has to happen. Economically, it has to happen.
Yeah.
They just know now, because Joshua, if he beat Usyk, there's so many options. But Joshua has no belts.
This is the last kind of
It's
shot.
like
Eh?
it's like he's already lost a couple times. I think he's reached his ceiling in terms of talent. He keeps changing trainers and saying, like, it's pointing his fingers at everyone else. That's the fucking first problem. And I think Fury has accomplished everything he needs to in the sport to be able to hang him up. But
go get paid.
if these guys don't take this paycheck soon, that train's left the station, and
It's gonna be like
I don't
the-
ever think it can be rewound.
They're not. They don't have the luxury of the Mayweather Pacquiao, or like actually that's specifically
How
to
did
wait that long.
How do the two maintain relevance and maintain value of dollars when there's no one else in terms of a good dancing partner to get you there without potentially lowering your value?
Yeah. And you can see it. I was at the last Fury and Wilder fight. I was in Vegas to watch it. Like,
Insane.
that was a crazy one. Like, I remember, I'll never forget when we went there, and I took one of my buddies. So I saw, just a side story. I saw, for my first ever fight I saw, I was at a conference in Vegas, and Fury was fighting Luis Ortiz for the second time.
Yeah.
And I started seeing the billboards. I'm like, how the hell did I know this was happening? And I was supposed to leave on Friday, and the fight was Saturday. I'm like, I'm obviously staying.
Yeah.
I bought a ticket by myself. I was like 4th row, MGM Grand Garden. I sit down. I put money on Luis Ortiz that fight. I really like Luis
That was
Ortiz.
the second fight or the
Second
first
fight.
Okay, yeah.
Put money on Luis Ortiz. I'm by myself. I went for the undercard fight. Everything. I'm so fired up to be in there. Then a lady sits next to me and her husband from Alabama. We start talking, whatever, and I was like,
it's his mom.
I'm pretty sure it was like a white lady.
Okay.
But then a row of black women come and sit in front of me, and they're talking to the people from Alabama, and they're like, "Oh, you know this, you know that," and I'm starting to listen a little bit, and I'm like, "Oh, how do they know each other?" But then she's saying, "Oh, my son," and I look over, and I was like, she kept saying something. She looks at me, she goes, "Who are you cheering for?" And I could hear Alabama, so I'm like, "Oh, I'm here to see a good fight. Came by myself." And she goes, "You better cheer for my boy to win." I was like, "Who's your boy?" She goes, "Deontay." So I'm literally sitting next to his mom, and I got money on Luis Ortiz to win. So I'm like, shit. And the fight, the fight was going Luis Ortiz's way the first, 5-6 rounds. Like, you looked, not his way, but he looked good.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, he could go. And then out of nowhere, I'll never forget this. I blinked. And I opened my eyes, and Luis Ortiz was on the ground. And I was like, what just happened? And
he's like letting off a shotgun, man. That
dude,
guy's fucking hands.
And I watched the replay came off, and you see him hit. And Luis Ortiz's body didn't even move, but the sweat shot off, and he collapsed. It's like a piston, Deontay Wilder's hand.
Bro, they said literally it's like getting hit in the face with a fucking brick.
Yeah.
Oh, more. It's like a literally like a piston fire. You don't even see it coming out. But that's what I've always loved it. But when I saw that fight in person, I was like, this is my favorite sport to watch. Like, I was like addicted. I needed to go see more fights. So then I went and saw Fury and Wilder, and I saw Canelo and thing. Being in a boxing match, in a peak event or whatever it is, I think in sport there's really nothing like it, because number one is they're not like, these guys are playing football right now, watching a game. There's a slow play and a guy taking up.
There's so many variables.
You don't play boxing. You don't take your eyes off for a second.
It's 36 minutes of, or however long the match is. 36 minutes of just straight like work.
Yeah.
There's no, let me take a breather here.
No.
Let me get off on the shift. Like, no, like you got your minute break between rounds, and other than that,
your minute break is
nothing.
And you're in that ring
nothing.
to kill the other guy, because look, again, we bring the example up of Virgil Ortiz. Or was it Virgil Ortiz or against
Victor
Mayweather?
Ortiz.
He took it. He was trying to be nice for 1 second because he made a mistake, and I think it was a low blow. Put his hands down, said sorry, looks at the ref, looks back at Mayweather, and he's knocked out.
Done.
Lights out.
Like, anyways,
His whole life
Crazy.
changed
Yeah.
that day.
yeah,
He was the world champion before that.
yeah.
Never came back in the sport.
Yeah.
Became a drug addict. Fucking tried to have a couple comeback fights. Shitty performances, probably because he has a substance problem.
Yeah.
He was a laughing stock all over fucking the whole sport because of that one
Because he made a rookie
fucking
mistake.
second.
You don't put your hands down.
1 second.
Yeah.
There's no team behind him. There's no coach. There's no organization. There's fucking Victor Ortiz high and dry.
Yeah,
fucking,
yeah, yeah.
you're done, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
wild.
but I think that's the problem. Like in the sport, like fuck, man. Look at Anthony Joshua and that rant he went on after the fight.
Yeah, that was.
Why did no one in his team, like, there's not a fucking chance on this planet Sam Vargas in that ring in a fight like that could have got that many words out of it. I would have fucking knocked him on myself. Shut the fuck up. You're going home, retard. You're making a fool of yourself.
He made some weird, like.
Just went on and on.
But you
and
know
on.
what's interesting? Even after the second Andy Ruiz fight, when he came back to win, it wasn't bad. But you could tell he was getting all philosophical. He was trying to channel that, like, Muhammad Ali came in the ring by himself. Like, he looked like he didn't cut his hair. He wanted to look more like that guy who was like diving deep. So you could see the signs with Anthony Joshua early, man.
That's why I kind of. It sounds so gutless, but I kind of want to see Fury put the nail in the coffin and just get him out of the sport, because he's such a headache.
If that fight happens in London, for sure, that's the one I'll fly out to the goal.
So one thing I was going to say, like one fight that I didn't go to that I'm kicking myself was I wish I went to Rolly's and Javante.
The recent one?
Rolly Romero and
Yeah,
Javante
yeah.
Davis, his last fight.
Did
like
he go?
how they were talking so much
yeah.
smack and all this shit, and it lived up to it, man.
Tank Davis is a crazy one. He's
Yeah.
another guy
That's
that
a sick nickname too.
Yeah, he's a guy who just like came from Mayweather. You can tell he's just like just wants to kill people, wants to get paid and buy diamonds, all this stuff.
So that kid that I told you that I got that had 6 bricks and guns and whatnot,
yeah?
they're from the same hood, and Javante used to live with him.
Get out of here.
Yeah. They're all from the DMV, so that's like
That's
DC,
an area,
Maryland,
yeah.
Virginia, and yeah, they're all just from fucking slums, man. Those
Yeah.
kids are fucking special. But you know who was all from that area is Leonard Ellerby, the CEO of Mayweather Promotions.
Yeah.
So that's how he has all those kids, like Broner and all these guys. He's got them all.
I saw AB when I was in. I think it was when I was there for the Fury. When I was. Anyways, one of the fights I was in Vegas. I was checking at Caesars. And I look over, and you recognize Broner anywhere. He's got no neck. He's like, whatever. And I don't remember what happened, but I was checking in. And he was the counter next to me, and he was getting pissed about something. So I'm taking his drink, throw it on the floor, causing a scene. I'm like, this
he's
guy's
fucked.
nuts.
He's fucked.
Bro, I'm staying away from that one for sure. Eh?
That guy was like the next, like,
He was supposed to be
Mayweather,
Floyd, but he just didn't know how to.
No.
Didn't have the right people.
I've watched the last couple of his fights, too. They were pretty disappointing.
Yeah.
Anyways, I got nothing else, man. This was great. Like,
Yeah, we could do this forever.
Yeah.
Man, that's the thing. That's why we'll get you back on too. Maybe like next. Oh, when you leaving to New York, the New Year?
Yeah. But I'll listen, man. Like I'm from
we
Toronto.
like to-
I'll be here all the time. Like even if when I'm out there, I'll be flying back and forth daily.
Well, fair. Maybe if you have a big event in Toronto, we'll do something like extra promo or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you ever have events, keep us in mind. Like again, I actually have never been to one in Toronto at all. Like even Virgil at Kingsway, like he's always like, yeah, I got this is happening, Golden Globes, Brampton, whatever. I just never end up going.
Yeah.
And I really want to get out to more. If you ever have an event, you want us to talk about it. I'm as a boxing fan, and as someone who's like coming up.
Wednesday.
You had one?
Yeah, at Rebel. Yeah, but I have a big one that we're announcing soon. I'll let you guys know before the end of the year.
Yeah, happy to plug it. And if they, when bigger events happen here or big fights or they coincide, we're happy to get you on and talk about this, man. I'll talk about boxing all day.
You know what's nice? Because I don't know. It's like Formula One. I don't know much about it. But once you talk to people and get going on, you're like, hey, fuck, I want to go on. I want to see this fight. Like, I want to see the stupid green belt. I want to see fucking
100%.
We'd be asking. We'd be checking, whatever.
See the size of the ring. You want to see what gloves the guy's got on.
Yeah, I'm like, those gloves look like horsehair. Right?
Well, that's the cool thing too, because Rick doesn't know a lot. I'm like the average fan, above average fan, and you're an expert in this. So he can ask questions that our listeners probably would be wanting to ask too, because we have mixed. Like we have men, women, everyone listens to it and stuff. And it's always cool when someone comes on who's clearly passionate about what they do and knows a lot about what they do. So
thank you.
Anyways, man, it was finally glad we got to make this happen.
I'm so glad
finally,
we did this, man.
Yeah. Fuck, I
didn't even know what I was coming to, but this is not what I thought I was coming to.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good thing.
No, you guys know your shit, and
I appreciate
you do your shit well. Yeah.
Like right back at you, and wish you the best of luck, man. Hopefully,
Thanks,
you have a long, fruitful career, and personally, like as a fan, I pray that we have bigger fights down the road in Canada and the Canadian boxing scene.
Well, I'll pride myself on trying to make them.
Yeah. We need if I could go to Scotiabank Arena,
I'm not gonna
Scotiabank Arena, and see your guy with the bricks and the guns fighting for the WCB.
What's his name?
Dusty Hernandez Harrison.
Hernandez Harrison.
His dad's fucking nuts. I don't have my phone on me, but he's like, "Do you think there's any fucking way you can get this guy a fight in Canada?" I was like, "Maybe if we bring him on a boat in the reserves or something." I don't know how we're gonna do it. We could fucking
He's
get
not
him
getting
here.
across the boat.
That was 6 bricks.
If we couldn't get Chris Brown in here, I don't think he's coming.
Bro, I used to do, random side note, I used to do nightclub promo back in the day too. We booked Joel Santana. And I was like, this would be sick in a nightclub. I got him for cheap. Didn't make it across the border. And I'm like, did nobody check this?
Yeah, I know, right?
Booking agent, did nobody realize that he was? It's like it was a clear no. I was like, what the fuck did we just do? What was the point of this? Anyways,
so a lot of the pre-fight press conferences to announce the fights, those were used a lot of the times to see if the individuals could get in the countries.
Oh, interesting.
So you test the waters to see, because if the guy gets fucking denied for the press conference, then don't fucking announce the fight. Because a lot of times, I know for a fact, I don't work with American matchmakers as much because a lot of them don't have passports or have child support issues. And they get nabbed at the border. And they'll never tell you, because if they tell you, then they know they're not getting. So they're going to roll the dice for you, and then you fucking get screwed.
Yeah.
That's
interesting, man.
You bring these guys up.
I love hearing all these things. I never would have known these
It's
things.
the inside scoop. Scoop.
Yeah.
Lee, man, pleasure having you on.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.
Anyways, guys.
We'll get you back on for sure.
Cool. Yeah, mate, we appreciate you. Cheers, guys.
See ya.